WNST getting into the basketball season here. I've been watching the Wizards. I've been watching the Caps as well. But the Terps have stolen my heart back in December with all these victories and 13-1, and certainly on a Sunday afternoon when the Ravens were playing out the string and not doing it very well. The Terps would look to be, or appeared to be on Sunday, on the way to a victory over the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and then trouble broke out. Walt Williams knows about trouble. He was on the scene down there witnessing what was kind of an epic collapse. Walt, first off, welcome in. Happy New Year to you. That was a little, cold splash of water for the Terps on Sunday, wasn't it?
Absolutely, it was. They were rolling for a minute there. It had been a struggle throughout. And then they had a period in the middle of the second half where they kind of took control of the game. And then, bam, it just stalled out around that 5-minute mark, somewhere around there. It just stalled out for them for the rest of the game. That at that time, Nebraska had went to a 1-3-1. And, the Terps weren't able to figure it out. And, they were not able to score down the stretch against that defense.
Dude, 1-3-1. Walt, we ran that back when you were in junior high, right? When you were about 14, you were one of the ones, and if, you didn't have enough size, what the hell was that? That was, ingenious on the part of the Nebraska side. And I know they gave Indiana fits earlier in the week, but, when you see that kind of a switch, and Turgeon talks about it in the postgame and saying we weren't ready for it, that's on him, but it's also not widely used at this point, right?
Well, I tell you what, it's not necessarily at this point. Nobody's going to trick you with a defense that you've never seen. I mean, at this point, it's only but so many defenses that you can do. But
there's only 5 guys out there.
Absolutely, and it's about who those guys are, who the guys are. Executing that defense. And so when you get to this level right here, it's not necessarily the 1-3-1, it's the players that's playing it. And so on the offensive end, you have to execute whatever offense you have against that 1-3-1. And that's where the Terps fell into a little rut there. They just could not get any good looks when Nebraska went to that 1-3-1. So I would guess that they went to work and practiced on that and making sure that if a team goes to that, which they probably will at some point, they're able to execute. You don't see that often, especially a team staying in it. You go to that sparingly, and normally there's some gaps in that defense. So normally you give up good shots, but Nebraska did not. So they stayed in it for a long period of time.
I've been doing sports radio here for 25 years now. This guy, I think, has been a part of my programming for all 25 years. I met him back getting out of the old Cole Fieldhouse, the Wizard with us, Walt Williams. You're doing radio now with Johnny, right? So you've gotten more involved with this. I know you've never really drifted far, even a dozen years in the NBA, away from the Maryland program. Between the women playing the way they have against Connecticut, Turgeon getting the team back to this point where, 13-1 isn't good enough, and the expectations are kind of through the roof. This is a good time to be back at College Park now, right? I mean, this is a nice feel. We were all worried about this Big Ten and how it was going to fit. Hey, Indiana's coming in next week. It fits pretty good, I think, right?
Oh, absolutely it is. I mean, you talk about the consistency of both the women's and the men's basketball team, and you got to credit the coaching staff doing a great job of recruiting top talent, being able to coach them up and getting them to perform at a high level. I mean, I think the fans have adapted to the Big Ten competition. It's been a great time in this short period. And, the Big Ten has some wonderful teams, comparable, if not better, than the ACC. So the basketball has not dropped at all. And so I think that's what the fans enjoy the most, just seeing good basketball on a consistent basis. And so you talk about a team like Indiana, I compare them to just about any team in the country with the talent that they have. And so the Terps going to have their work cut out for them.
Well, you talk about recruiting and bringing in new players and what it means to be in the Big Ten. I know Bino's been out on the road with some of these guys, but Jackson and Herter, to see these young guys, not only the minutes that they've played, the way they've played, and certainly for Herter, if that game somehow Melo hits a shot and wins the game, the story wouldn't even have been about Melo on Sunday. It would have been about Kevin Herter, who has started to shoot the basketball, move out to the three-point line, and I think Turgeon's encouraged him to do that, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that's the most impressive about Herder, Jackson, and Calvin is just the steadiness. You know, the freshmen, they are talented, but they usually take you on that roller coaster ride, up and down. You know, even through the course of a game. I'm not talking about game to game. I'm talking about through minutes of a game. That's normally what happens with freshmen. But these guys have shown that they are steady. They poised. They're doing it on both ends of the court. It's a little bit more easier for Cowan to adjust because, you know, you're a point guard. You got the ball in your hand all the time. So you started to get a comfort level very quickly. So it's a little advantage from that standpoint for Cowan. But all of these guys have just shown the poise, which usually is it demonstrated in veteran players, and so that's the thing that's been so surprising about them, just the consistency and the steadiness of them all.
Nice to have a guy that can handle the ball, right? I mean, that frees Melo up for lots of other things. Kind of tough to discuss that after the loss, but I think as we get into this Big Ten, as we start seeing bigger teams, and I mean, even seeing the smaller team that was on the floor against Illinois that annihilated them last week, that bodes well for the future. That's got to make everybody feel good.
Yeah, you said it. You know, a guy like Cowan being able to dominate the ball and have it in his hand, and it frees Melo up to get rest and to be able to move and score off the ball. You know, where the defense can't really zone in on him as easy. But then also what happens is because he's had the rest time and not had the duties of bringing the ball up throughout the whole game against pressure and things of that nature, now down the stretch, he's a lot more fresh, and he does have moments, especially at the end of the game, where he has the ball in his hand. And now you're talking about a guy who knows how to get to the free throw line. He finishes well around the basket. And he can hit the outside shot. So you're talking about a guy that's being more fresh at the end of the games now because of Cowan being able to handle those duties and handle them at a very high level on both ends of the court. You talk about those freshmen and the way they can score. Those guys are doing it on the defensive end as well. You know, Cowan putting a lot of pressure. Jackson rebounding the ball. Herter is arguably one of the best defenders in college to me. You know, with his size and length and versatility to be able to guard different types of players.
Well, you talk about size, the DeMonte Dodd situation. And, I've been waiting from the beginning for him to blossom into a 12-point, 10-rebound guy. I don't know that that's coming at this point. And obviously, with the injury situation with him, he's going to get more minutes. I think once he gets healthy, and Tchaikovsky looks like he's gone for a period of time here, it has definitely affected their size, right?
Oh yeah, I don't think he's a guy that can average those numbers because he's talking about Tchaikovsky, Bender, Gill, and Dodd. So that's a kind of rotating thing. I don't think that any one of them will get the consistent minutes in order to put up numbers like that. But for the time being, where you have a guy hurt, DeMonte Dodd, just like in the Nebraska game, he did a fantastic job in the minutes that he was out there, just rebounding the ball, just being a presence around the basket. His defensive prowess is like none of the others. And just being able to finish on when guys are penetrating and things of that nature. So he brought a lot of energy to the game. When you can defend like he can, that allows the team to get out on a break and push it more and put more pressure on the defense. And with the shooters that are normally on the floor, it just puts a lot of pressure on that defense to be able to not only get back on defense, but to recognize guys in transition. And that all starts with the way you defend around that basket, and DeMonte Dodd did a great job, and so hopefully he can continue that to go.
Wiz, what are you seeing from Melo this year? Certainly, we saw a lot 2 years ago. Last year, it appeared the injury certainly hampered him. And also the fact there was only one basketball last year and a lot of players who wanted that ball, and maybe some thoughts about the NBA. Maybe they were picking your brain about it, February and March of last year. But it feels to me, at least in the early going, that this version of Melo feels more like the one from 2 years ago. And certainly, now as more of an upperclassman and the leader and one of the best players in the conference, if not the country, it's going to fall on his shoulders as it did on Sunday, where you want to get the ball in his hands in a tight game, even if you've blown the lead for him. We're going to win or lose based on him making shots late in the game. And he's got to get to the free throw line more, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And playing in the Big Ten, the fouls that he normally gets when he's going to the basket, getting that body contact and things like that, we've seen over the past few years. He doesn't get that call anymore as much. So he's going to have to finish better around the basket or be able to find that open guy, one or the other. But what he's shown this year is his ability to move without the ball. But he also has the options to be able to show to continue to show what he can do with the ball in his hand. I think the biggest key for him is him being able to hit outside shots. He's going to have to show the league that he has the skill level to be able to play at that level. It's not going to be based off of he doesn't have that big athleticism or that big size or things of that nature. So he's going to have to display it in his skill level, which he's capable of doing. So if he's able to hit that outside shot on a consistent basis moving forward, that's going to be so good for him because it's going to open up the floor even more. And he's a guy we know that can penetrate and get into the teeth of the defense. And so, but I think him being able to get to the next level is going to be him having the ability to show that he can get the outside shot.
Wiz, one of the things about this Big Ten is the travel schedule. I mean, you were in the ACC during a very, very different travel time, I think. All these trips, all these games, Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Ohio State, you look on paper, none of these teams are special, right? I mean, Indiana may be a little bit of a cut above Purdue, Wisconsin. We'll see them later in the year. I'm sure by the time we get to Michigan State at the end, they'll have a decent basketball team there because they always do with Izzo. But these feel like winnable games, but there is something about traveling in this conference and rolling into Iowa when it might be 10 below in the middle of January. Ditto Champaign, Illinois. You know it's going to be cold as hell in Minneapolis. You play plenty of basketball during the winter in the NBA, but it is a different kind of thing for these young guys, right?
Well, yeah, it's definitely different traveling to North Carolina or Virginia and Michigan and Iowa and places like that. So it's certainly a difference there. And then also, those are good. Those places have good fans, and we've struggled in those arenas thus far.
Well, they're always on fire, right? That's the one thing we learned. I went out to Purdue last year with you guys. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was like one of the best basketball environments I've ever been in, right?
Absolutely, and that fuels the home team, and so it often makes it tough on a road team. You see momentum swings, you see all those things based off of crowd support, and so those are tough environments to play in, and so it's going to continue to be that way. So it's going to be. So we're going to have to be prepared to, and it's going to come down to execution and just weathering storms and being able to play tough on a consistent basis on the defensive end. But more importantly, finishing off possessions with rebounding the ball. That's a must when you're on the road, especially that you be able to rebound the ball. You don't want the home team being able to get shot after shot and more attempts than you. So that's something that they're going to have to be better at and become more consistent in if they want to win on the road.
This team going to be in the tournament in March, Wiz?
I think it is. If you'd asked me that before the season started, looking at the roster, I think I probably wouldn't thought so because just so young, and even the guys who are that been here for some years are inexperienced. Has never been called on to do what they need them to do this year, and so just a lot of inexperience on this team. But they'll come together and believe in themselves, and these young guys have really performed at a high level consistently, and guys like you mentioned, DeMonte Dodd, these guys who are counted on to step it up, they have. And so you continue that to get even better as the season goes on. And so I expect them to be there at the end, being able to get into the tournament. I think it's going to be a dogfight, but I think eventually they're going to get there.
We got some fun nights ahead. Michigan first up in Ann Arbor on Saturday afternoon. That is a 3:15 tip there. And then on Tuesday night, Indiana bringing John Harbaugh's brother-in-law to town down at College Park. Walt Williams will be on the scene with Johnny Holiday, Chris Nocky, and all those guys calling basketball as they do there. Wiz, always great to visit with you, man. I hope to see you sometime soon down there at College Park, and we'll talk about the old time. That's all we got when we get older, right?
Absolutely, man. It's always a pleasure talking with you, buddy.
You got it. The Walt Williams, the Wizard, joining us live from College Park, talking all things Terps as they get ready for the Wolverines of Michigan this weekend, and of course the big Indiana game. Now 13-2, still not ranked after just a hideous breakdown and loss in Nebraska, where last 6 minutes of the game they couldn't find the basket. You know, it's a tough thing to go through. Young guys working through it, but. So far, so good. 13-2. We'll take it. You can find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear there. It's all brought to you by buyatoyota.com. Our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox. 7 a.m. It comes digitally into your email, courtesy of Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life there. And you can learn more at PlanetOfTriumphs.com. Get a little inspiration out there as well. Last but never least, breaking news happens anytime, anywhere, and when it does, it comes to your phone on the WNST text service. Never spam. We're working on almost a decade of this now. Been that long since we started texting. Also old guys. But we'll get you that breaking news. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis Kolatzis will be here on Thursday driving you home with the SSV on WNST. I'm Nestor. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. Streaming live on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. Ravens, Orioles, Terps, Caps, Wizards, local colleges. We're getting it all done around here. We are WNST.net. AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.